Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the prophet Micah, chapter 4, starting at verse 6 through chapter 5, verse 1. Now it starts off by saying, in that day, in the day of the Lord is promising to do something. The Lord declares. And he's going to assemble the lame. He's going to gather the exiles, the very people that others think are throwaways. God is going to make them his remnant, his strong nation. And these are the very people that the Lord drove away and that the Lord caused to grieve. And what the Lord is trying to get them to grieve over is their sin. He drove them away because they took for granted his blessing. And so he is disciplining them. And he goes on to say, for the watchtower of my flock, the stronghold of the daughter Zion. Now, Zion is really a spiritual term to refer to God's people. They are a spiritual entity. And he said, kingship will come to my daughter, but this is a kingship that is divine. It is of God. So why do you cry aloud now because you have no king? Your ruler perished, and the Lord has plunged his people into a necessary hardship. He has caused them pain, labor pains, and because they're birthing a new reality. They have to go through the suffering of letting go of the past in order to move into the future. And so he goes on to say that you must now leave the city, leave the structure that you're accustomed to, in order that you can go camp out in the wide open, in the wilderness, to go into a new reality. As he goes on to say, it's in the very place of exile, in the very place that we don't want to be, that the Lord will rescue his people, that the Lord will redeem them. And I want to encourage you to think about how many times that you have felt like you were out in the wide open, in the wilderness, that God himself has exiled you in order to grieve you and to bring you to a new reality. It was necessary. He says, verse 11, I get it. Right now, the nations, they gather against you. They are gloating over you. They mock you. But, here's that gospel but. Verse 12, they don't know what God is up to. They don't know his plans. And that God is going to give his people, right? That he's going to give them a victory, that he's going to deliver their very enemies into the hands of Zion. And, their ill-gotten wealth, that these enemies have taken from Israel, Israel will take that and in the end give it as an offering to the Lord. He says, now marshal your troops now, city of troops, for a siege is laid against us. They will strike Israel's ruler on the cheek with a rod. Many of the interpreters from the past, like Luther, refer to this as a messianic passage, that the enemies of God are striking God's anointed one on the cheek. And we think about how Jesus himself was stricken. But he says, go ahead and marshal your troops. You think you're going to win against God? It ain't going to happen. Well, my friends, let us be encouraged that when we're going through hard times, God's got something better for us. Thanks. Have a blessed day.